welcome back to the 8th concession. My name is Natalie. It's a beautiful fall day here in southern Ontario, and although it was really cold about a week and a half ago, so cold that it really felt more like winter than fall, we've had a bit of a reprieve and it's warmed up. In fact, we're going up to 19 degrees Celsius today. I think that's about 66 Fahrenheit. And I'm sorry, but that's shorts and t-shirt weather for me this afternoon, and I'm so excited. Sunny and warm and able to work outside comfortably. So I decided to take this opportunity of the warm weather to do a small chore that I could have done inside, but I'm going to do outside, and that's deal with my loofahs. Now, as I mentioned, this year my loofah seeds didn't seem to germinate indoors under my grow lights, and I couldn't figure out why. The seed was only 1 year old. I had used it the previous year and it grew beautifully. So in desperation, when I planted my garden, I actually just threw the remaining seeds from that package in the ground beside the birdhouse gourds, and they sprouted and grew, and I was surprised. However, because we have such a short growing season here, this is zone 5B, I knew that they probably wouldn't have as much time to ripen as I would have liked. And sure enough, when I had to pull them down off the trellis, which you saw in a previous video, they are still green. Now, even last year when I planted them indoors first, they were still somewhat green, or some of them were still green. And I find I can still peel them. It's a bit more difficult than when they're nice and brown. You can just peel it right off. However, I can peel them off, and inside the structure is still good. And when I let them dry, they are still usable as loofahs. And I use them for lots of different things. I use them to clean my vegetables, which I love because they're not so harsh that they'll really damage it. So mushrooms or cucumbers or anything like that. Also, they're great in, of course, the shower and the bath, or any sort of scrubbing where you don't want something really abrasive that's going to scratch. So I was so excited to see that I had loofahs on the trellis because I wasn't even sure they'd have time to set fruit, and I have a basket full behind me. And so today I'm going to take the skins off, try and get the seeds out and get them drying so that I can use them this winter. And I'm so happy I can do this outside in this marvelous warm spell we're having in Ontario in the fall. Here's my basket of loofahs. Now you can see this one started to go brown. I don't know whether that was brown or just frostbitten, but either way, I'm going to start with this one because that should come off the easiest. Well, I should have had my scissors so I could cut. This is a messy job, which is why I'm glad I don't have to do it inside. I've got a bucket here, so I can just scrape that off into my bucket because I'm going to make a mess, as usual. You can see I've all got this white table. We kind of jumped the gun when it got so cold, and we put the glass top patio table, already put it away in the slug hut for the winter. I'm glad this white one at least was still around for me to use. So that's all I do, is I just physically take the peels off. And you'll see it's brown. I don't know whether this one got damaged too much. There we go. It does help a little bit if you kind of loosen the skin first by crunching it or rolling it. But really, when they're this green, it's not going to come off easy, no matter how you do it. look at the size of this one. This is the biggest loofah I have ever grown. It's just beautiful. The next thing I'm going to do is give them a really good spray with the hose. You can see that they still have a lot of liquid in them because they're still green. I'm sure there's tons of seeds in there. And we're going to try and get rid of as much of the fiber and liquid as we can so that they can dry nice and stiff. So there you go. After some work, what I am left with is basically the skeleton of the gourd. You can see I've tried really hard to get rid of most of the pulp and a lot of the seeds from the inside of the gourds. And now I'm going to set them in the sun because it's such a warm day. I'm going to set them in the sun to dry. If I was doing this indoors, I'd put them near a radiator or some other heat source to dry. Any that look kind of yucky, like the top of this one here where it's very brown, I might cut off in the end. I think that's the one that had started to turn brown. It was either frostbitten or it was rotting. In previous years, when I've picked green loofahs and they didn't have time to dry on the vine, I tried drying them in the house just as they were, whole. And I put them in a warm spot indoors and just tried to mimic what would have happened to them on the vine. However, I found that a lot of them rotted, and I lost a lot of them that way. So then I decided to try cleaning them out and just drying what I call the skeleton of the gourd instead of the whole gourd, and I found that's worked much better. Now some parts of those were very brown already, and I may end up cutting them off, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in the sun today only because it's a beautiful day, and then I'll bring them in tonight and let them finish drying just as the insides. So it's been about 3 days now. I've been drying my loofahs outside while it's sunny, and I brought them in at night and put them near like a warm radiator overnight. And you can see that they are done. You can hear that they're crispy dry, which means they won't rot. And all I have to do now is cut them to the size I want to use them in my house. So yes, zone B is not ideal for growing loofahs. It is much better if you're in a warmer zone and they turn brown on the vine. You can peel them more easily, dry them more easily. But if you don't have a choice, if you live in a cooler climate like I do, it is encouraging to know that you can grow and save your own loofah sponges. So I hope you've enjoyed this and are inspired to perhaps try growing your own loofahs. Bye for now.